I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Trump prepares to speak about Iran, regime change, the Strait of Hormuz, while speculation persists about a possible ground invasion. This is Now You Know. I'm Rob Snow.
The top news stories
and conversations that matter to you.
This is Now You Know with Rob Snow on News Radio.
U.S. President Donald Trump will take to the airwaves tonight and deliver an update on the war. His speech scheduled for 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Speaking at the White House, where he was signing an executive order about mail-in ballots, Trump was asked about high gas prices because of the war. Gas prices are more than $4 a gallon on average across the United States. He said gas prices will come down when the war ends, that will happen soon. He also claimed there's been regime change in Iran.
On gas prices, today they hit $4.
We're $4, yeah, and we have a country that's not going to be throwing a nuclear weapon at us in 6 months. Of course,
but Americans are feeling the effects in the interim of this
and they're also feeling a lot safer.
What is the plan to bring them back down?
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and they'll become tumbling down. And stock prices were up today almost to a record because they know 2 things. Number one, we have a safe country. We had to take a little detour because we had a madman named Khomeini who sadly is no longer with us. And we had regime change already. We've knocked out one regime, then we knocked out the second regime. Now we have a group of people that are very different. They're much more reasonable, I think much less radicalized. We have had regime change. We're dealing with people that are much more rational, and it's amazing what we've done.
Trump would go on to claim that if the United States and Israel didn't attack Iran, Iran would have already used a nuclear weapon. He also claimed Americans support the war, despite polls showing otherwise.
I said to the American people, it's time that we have to make a little detour because we have a madman that wants a nuclear weapon. And if we didn't knock him out with a B-2 bomber, we would have a nuclear weapon right now. It would have been used before today. And you may not be standing there asking that question, okay? So I think we have a country that understands that. I see CNN did a poll and they talked about voters or MAGA voters, and my poll came out at 100%. Nobody covers that poll. They had another poll where it's at 92% approval. I think that the people understand it.
As for tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, Trump said the United States has nothing to do with that and suggested other countries will have to fend for themselves.
And if France or some other country wants to get oil or gas, they'll go up through the Strait and Hormuz Strait. They'll go right up there and they'll be able to fend for themselves. I think it'll be very safe, actually, but we have nothing to do with that. What happens to the Strait, we're not going to have anything to do with, because these countries, China will go up and they'll fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves. There's no reason for us to do it. We hit them hard. We got rid of a lot of the radicalized lunatics along the Strait. But if they want something, but I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. As you probably read, or wrote.
Will be gone.
We knocked
2 or 3
out.
weeks,
Excuse me?
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2
I think with
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks.
In a video posted on the official White House YouTube channel, the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio called the American action in Iran the final chance to wipe out the threat Iran posed to the world.
Under no circumstances can a country run by radical Shia clerics with an apocalyptic vision of the future ever possess nuclear weapons. And under no circumstances can they be allowed to hide and protect that program and their ambitions behind a shield of missiles and drones that no one can do anything about. This was our last best chance to eliminate that conventional threat, that conventional shield that they were trying to build, and the president made the right decision to wipe it out now. That is the goal of this operation, to destroy their conventional missiles and their drone program so they can't hide behind it and finally have to deal with the world seriously about never, ever having nuclear weapons.
While the U.S. president says this war could be over in 2 or 3 weeks, there's still speculation the United States is preparing some sort of ground invasion. The United States Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, told reporters the administration isn't about to reveal strategic plans for the war, and he said negotiations are still happening.
We're not going to foreclose any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your adversary what you are willing to do or what you are not willing to do, to include boots on the ground. Our adversary right now thinks there are 15 different ways we could come at them with boots on the ground. And guess what? There are. So if we needed to, we could execute those options on behalf of the President of the United States and this department. Or maybe we don't have to use them at all. Maybe negotiations work, or maybe there's a different approach. But the point is to be unpredictable in that. Certainly not let anybody know what you're willing to do or not do. On the talks, I can tell you, having been with Steve and Jared and the Vice President and Marco and many others yesterday, they are very real. They are ongoing. They're active and I think gaining strength. And we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to get a deal. But I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs.
Mr. Hegseth is facing allegations from Democrats about corruption amid a report that a broker who works for Morgan Stanley has links to Hegseth and allegedly attempted to make big investments in defense funds just before the war started. Robert Garcia, a Democratic congressman from California, says an investigation is underway into that report.
Well, this is complete corruption. And not only is it on our radar, in fact, today we are opening an investigation into what is incredibly serious. And both Morgan Stanley and BlackRock will be receiving letters from myself and the Oversight Committee today, asking a series of questions to preserve documents. The reality is we need answers. And we're also, today, we've contacted Secretary Hegseth. We also are expecting him to answer our questions. I mean, the idea that our Secretary of Defense or War, or whatever he wants to call himself, is trying to make money, to enrich himself off playing games with our military is pure corruption and insane.
The BlackRock connection was first reported by the Financial Times. The broker at the center of the allegations is alleged to have tried to invest millions of dollars in a specific BlackRock defense fund shortly before the war started in Iran. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Cases of colorectal cancer among people under the age of 50 have been on the rise for many years, leading to calls to lower the age recommendations for screening for this form of cancer. The Canadian Cancer Society now recommends that average risk adults begin screening at age 45 instead of 50. And Prince Edward Island will be the first province to officially lower the colorectal cancer screening age to 45. Dr. Erin McCarvill is a family physician in oncology and Health P.E.I.'s medical advisor for cancer prevention, screening, and early detection. Thanks for joining us, Doctor.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What is colorectal cancer?
Colorectal cancer is a cancer that forms in your anywhere in your bowel, in your large bowel, which is your colon, or your rectum, which is the space between the end of your colon technically and your anus.
Okay. Why are more younger Canadians being diagnosed with this form of cancer?
Honestly, we don't know. There's been a clear and alarming trend for the last decade at least. Felt probably due to a combination of environmental factors, ultra-processed diets, sedentary lifestyles, that kind of thing. You know, we've always known that family history is a contributing factor, and certain pre-existing conditions, things like Crohn's disease and colitis. But we don't know at the end of the day what's driving these changes in younger people.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms range from no symptoms at all. Often people are asymptomatic, and that's the scary part. You know, anyone can have rectal bleeding would be the thing that probably triggers alarm bells first. Changes in bowel habits. So if you're normally someone who goes every day and now you're either constipated or having diarrhea or both, or change in the size of your stool, those can all be things. Belly pain, you know, it can be anything really in your gut, but often there are no symptoms at all.
Does it affect men more than women? Is it about the same? What can you tell us about that?
You know, I don't actually have those statistics in front of me. I think it's certainly a common cancer in both. I think that we know that it's now the number one cause of cancer death in both men and women in the United States. That data came out just in January. So I think it's fairly equal, but I don't have those numbers at my fingertips today.
Okay. So what is the screening process? What is involved with that for a patient?
Yeah, so our screening tests are done with what's called a FIT test, and that is a test you can do at home. You get a little kit, and you collect a little bit of your stool and put it onto a collecting apparatus that's sent to you, and you just put it in the mailbox, and it gets sent into the lab, and that's looking for blood or different proteins there that can potentially represent a colon cancer. And so if that FIT test is positive, then that doesn't mean you have a colon cancer, but that means you get the next test, which would be a colonoscopy. And that is when either a surgeon or a gastroenterologist would use a special camera and insert that into your rectum and go through your entire colon or large bowel to look for polyps, small cancers, big cancers, other signs, other causes of inflammation, anything that might justify why that FIT test was positive.
Okay. What would you say is the survival rate, say, early detection versus late detection? What's known about that?
Yeah. I mean, if we can pick up a colon cancer in the very early stages, a stage 1 colon cancer usually has a greater than 90% survival rate. Stage 4 colon cancer has a survival rate of somewhere around 10%. So a big difference picking these up at an early stage. And screening and colonoscopies actually give us the opportunity to pick up these things before they even become cancer, because we know most colon cancers start as a polyp, which is not cancer. And if we can take that polyp off with colonoscopy, then we can prevent that from ever becoming a cancer to begin with.
Okay, so Prince Edward Island is, first off the mark here. How hopeful are you that other provinces will follow suit?
I'm really hopeful. I think Australia and the United States have been doing this for a while, and this change has been on everybody's radar. I think PEI has we're a bit of an advantage in that we're a small province and can be a bit more nimble than some of the bigger ones to make changes like this. And so we're certainly hopeful that this sets a precedent and that our other provinces follow suit quickly.
Thank you so much for your time today, Doctor. Good to hear from you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much.
That's Dr. Erin McCarvill, family physician in oncology, Health P.E.I.'s medical advisor for cancer prevention, screening, and early detection. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
There's been another move higher in gas prices in some parts of the country, and $1.80 plus a liter is kind of becoming the norm. A couple of days ago, the provincial regulator in Nova Scotia invoked its interrupter clause again. So gas prices in that province averaging about $1.82.9, diesel at around $2.32 a liter. A significant hike in gas prices across parts of Ontario last night. In the National Capital Region, $1.83 a liter, diesel at around $2.38. Across Kitchener-Waterloo, the gas price climbed another 4 cents a liter to an average of $1.81.9 and diesel at around $2.29. In Calgary, though, it's about 20 cents a liter cheaper, with gas at $1.61 and diesel at $1.90. Vancouver's gas price is more than 50 cents a liter more than it is in Calgary, averaging $2.69. The move up in gas prices is happening despite a recent fall in oil prices. Stocks soared yesterday on Wall Street and Bay Street amid speculation that the war might be over soon. That sent oil prices lower. So today, the WTI oil futures have traded as low as $96 US, as high as $103 US, sitting at $100.69 US a barrel right now, down just slightly on the day. The average price of gasoline across the United States remains above $4 US a gallon at $4.02. So when you take into account the exchange rate, that is $1.43 a liter in Canadian dollars. In Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is calling it a fuel crisis, and he delivered a nationally televised address today encouraging citizens to conserve fuel, and he said his government would be cutting fuel taxes by 26 cents a liter.
You should go about your business and your life as normal. Enjoy your Easter. And if you're hitting the road, don't take more fuel than you need. Just fill up like you normally would. Think of others in your community, in the bush, and in critical industries. And over coming weeks, if you can switch to catching the train or bus or tram to work, do so. That builds our reserves and it saves fuel for people who have no choice but to drive. Farmers and miners and tradies who need diesel every single day. And all those shift workers and nurses who do so much for our country. The months ahead may not be easy. I want to be upfront about that. No government can promise to eliminate the pressures that this war is causing. I can promise we will do everything we can to protect Australia from the worst of it.
Australia is just the latest country to enact such measures because of high fuel costs. In Egypt, for example, the government has ordered all malls, restaurants, and government offices to close early. Kenya is rationing fuel. Sri Lanka is putting restrictions on the number of times drivers can fill up each week. And in Slovenia, there have been limits placed on how much fuel people can buy as well. Coming up right after the latest breaking news, we will dig once more into federal politics. Joining us today will be Melanie Paradis, president of Texture Communications, and Jeff Rutledge, the vice president at McMillan Vantage. We have a lot to discuss today, including that last issue, whether the government of Canada should be moving to cut gas taxes in order to save people some money at the pump. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
It's time for our Wednesday Newsday political panel talking federal politics today with Melanie Paradis, president of Texture Communications. Welcome back. Good to hear from you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Along with Jeff Rutledge as well, vice president of McMillan Vantage. Hello, Jeff. Welcome back.
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I would like to start with the team in orange, if you don't mind. How do you see, Melanie, the election of Avi Lewis as the leader of the federal New Democrats impacting federal politics?
Well, Avi Lewis may be able to save the NDP as a cause, but I don't think that that's the same as making the NDP competitive as a national party. He will give them energy. He's going to bring them profile because he certainly has that. Maybe even some ideological clarity, but he also makes them more identifiably activist and less electable, frankly, to mainstream swing voters. He's not coming in as a pragmatic provincial-style social democrat like we've seen with some successful NDP premiers. He's coming in as more of a movement figure. So while I think Lewis could probably stop the bleeding inside of the party, he may deepen the problem outside of the party. And he has no seat in the House, which is going to be a big problem. And the party's carrying major debt, so it's still stacked against him.
Okay. Jeff, what do you think? I mean, is this the person who saves the NDP or the person who sinks it for good? What do you think?
Yeah, well, first off, condolences to Avi and his family for their loss. But in terms of the challenges set out ahead for him, I think it's a really big one. Notably because, and Melanie's referenced this, he's attaching himself to a movement, but I'm not sure what he's trying to counter with that movement, right? Canadians have made it relatively clear that even if they are to the left of the political spectrum at the moment, that they're looking for pragmatic solutions and solutions to problems that are affecting their paycheck, not necessarily the identity politics that were played out on the convention floor just this past weekend. And so, I really struggled to see how he creates a real kind of dichotomy between his policies and the Liberals and growing his tent bigger than what it already is, which was already narrowed quite significantly by Jagmeet Singh.
Okay. Jeff, just following up, what did you make of the disassociation, I guess I would call it, from the Alberta NDP and the Saskatchewan NDP? I mean, he barely finished making his victory speech and that happened.
Well, it's smart politics on their side of things, right? Like, this is where I think there are problems for the NDP as a movement in the country, is that, there is no real common perspective on how to solve a lot of the problems that are deeply impacting regional and specific provinces in this country. And you can't have a leader of a federal party come out and say, keep the resources in the ground or nationalize and socialize the ones that come out, while you have workers in these provinces who are voting to elect NDP governments who are not aligned with that in any way, shape, or form, and are much more attached to labor priorities than they are to the priorities of Mr. Lewis. So, I've been jokingly calling him a Prosecco socialist, but that certainly seems to be where it breaks down between he and the leaders of the provincial NDP.
Melanie, what did you think of that?
I love the line Prosecco socialist. I think that's a good one for sure. But I also think that when we see New Democrats in resource provinces pushing back on Avi Lewis's energy views, I think it really underscores where the schism is in the party. And while we may see the NDP under Avi Lewis doing better in some like suburban or urban ridings, if he's not able to maintain what they have in the West and grow what they have out West or in Northern Ontario, for example, in areas where resource extraction is significant, what is the coalition going to look like for the NDP? How does that shape out in electoral terms? And then what does that mean for the Conservatives? Because we are often competing in the same ridings.
Yeah, I found the Nenshi statement more interesting, maybe just because I'm more familiar with his whole brand, Naheed Nenshi, because he's purple. He's a purple guy, right? He's not necessarily orange. He's not necessarily liberal red. He's purple. Whereas like Avi Lewis is a deep, deep shade of orange. And if he's red, it's not liberal red. It's a red of another shade. That's what stood out for me, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in rural Ontario, and I think of kind of the folks that voted NDP around there, and they were, teachers and some of the trades guys and that sort of thing, and that was the NDP that I grew up around. And now, we've got some upcoming by-elections in Toronto, and specifically, And that is a totally different beast of NDP voter. And so for Beaches in Toronto, certainly that's Avi's bread and butter. These are people who live in, multi-million-dollar homes, but, out of some sort of sense of apologizing to society for doing okay, feel the need to vote for an NDP government. So he's got this really bizarre connection and group that have come around him. But I don't know if it's because this romantic idea of yet another child of a former politician becoming the leader of a party, it seems to be something that we're slightly addicted to in this country.
Yeah, it's a Mandani thing, too, the Mandani thing. All right, we'll stop here. I have a few more questions. Should he seek a seat sooner rather than later? Tom Mulcair, the former leader of the NDP, says that's what he thinks he should do. He shouldn't wait a year or 2 years or 3 years or until the next election to get a seat in the House of Commons. He should jump at the opportunity, the earliest opportunity he can. Want to ask you about that. And in a strange way, shouldn't the Conservatives be cheering the NDP on right now? Wouldn't that be better for the Conservatives? Why don't we talk about that when we come back? This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now you know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
Our Wednesday Newsday political panel with Melanie Paradis from Texture Communications and from McMillan Vantage, Jeff Rutledge. Should Melanie Avi Lewis seek a seat, run in a by-election somewhere at the earliest opportunity, or does he have time to wait? Can he wait even a couple of years? What do you think?
So under normal circumstances, he should absolutely run for a seat, but these aren't normal circumstances. The federal NDP does not have party status. And so there's actually limited gain from being in the House right now, from being in question period. It's not like they're allocated like a lot of time on the agenda there. And even without a seat in the House, Avi Lewis could still, with the invitation of another MP, have press conferences on Parliament Hill. Obviously, he can't be speaking from the floor of the House, but he can still have press conferences on Parliament Hill. He can still try to push in to the media cycles. Ultimately, that's the biggest reason why you want to be in the House of Commons, is because you need the social media content. And question period has become a social media content studio at this point. If you need to raise your recognition, that's one of the places to be.
Okay. Agreed, Jeff?
You know what? I differ on this because I think it's a signal, an important signal to run as soon as you can. To be in the House brings you legitimacy. And I think being able to, use the resources of an MP's office to be able to elevate yourself. And also for, Avi, he's not a polished politician in terms of the federal Parliament. And so it's an opportunity for him to get in there, get his hands a little dirty and see how things actually work. I think for anybody that's in that position, they should try to get into the House as soon as possible, just from a functional perspective.
Do you think, Jeff, the Conservatives should be cheering on an NDP comeback? Isn't it much better for the Conservatives if the NDP's at 15% instead of 5%?
Absolutely it is. I mean, I think I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes with sweaty nightmares of failed vote splitting. But yeah, I mean, look, it's April Fool's, and maybe it's not such a joke that you could sign up. It's free to become a member of the NDP and help bang on doors to help that vote split if you're conservative. But no, in all seriousness, it is important, I think, for them to be able to fight in some of the ridings where conservatives need that vote split. I also think that there are some components of the Liberal Party right now that don't really love the direction that the Prime Minister is taking the party and feel it's far too conservative. And so being able to pull at those strings and create a bit of division would certainly help the Conservatives.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Melanie? And I mean, do you believe this claim that Mark Carney has moved the Liberals more to the right, so that just kind of leaves the left there for the taking? What do you think?
I mean, he has moved the Liberals right enough to irritate the left, especially the more fringe portions of the left, but not enough to lose the center. And that's why it's sort of an opening for the NDP, and certainly Avi Lewis's NDP, because he is much more activist. for him to build his coalition around that. But then at the cost of what? This is the challenge. It's also the challenge for the Conservatives. Yes, in some cases, in some ridings, it's very helpful for the NDP to perform well for the Conservatives. But it depends on which votes they're taking from Carney. And which votes they are alienating. And I think that the risk with Avi Lewis is that he will end up alienating people like teachers who are more traditional, like NDP liberal swing voters. I think they'll be turned off by Avi Lewis. Nurses, for example. Whereas other traditional NDP voters that we've seen in like northern areas, in more resource development areas, people who are working for construction unions, for example, they're more likely to vote Conservative now with a leader like Avi Lewis.
Okay. You mentioned that it's April Fool's Day. I just have to mention this, okay? The year is 2002. Long time ago now. Gosh, a long time. 2002. My old friend, the late Pierre Bourque of Bourque Newswatch in Ottawa, ran a story on Bourque Newswatch as an April Fool's Day joke that said the Liberal finance minister, Paul Martin, you guys remember this, was resigning from politics?
Yeah.
This was at a time when, you remember, the Liberals were at war with one another, right? There were the Chrétien Liberals and the Martin Liberals, and there was always speculation that Martin might be on the outs or something. But Pierre's story said Paul Martin was leaving politics to spend his remaining years breeding Charolais cattle and handsome fawn runner ducks in Havelock, Quebec.
Yeah. In the age of Donald Trump, I don't think we can get away with April Fool's Day jokes anymore.
Maybe not. Yeah. Handsome fawn runner duck. But I'll tell you what, it prompted a frenzy in Ottawa and on the Hill and with the press gallery. Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? And it actually it moved the currency market. The Canadian dollar fell to a 1 month low. My gosh, what a time. Yeah, my good friend Pierre. I love Pierre. Okay, when we come back, let's talk about gas prices and affordability issues and whether both Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre are MIA on this. This is News Radio.
No question goes unasked or unanswered.
Now you know with Rob Snow returns on News Radio.
Federal politics at midweek. No House of Commons, by the way, with Good Friday coming up, Easter Monday. The House will not be back until the 13th of April. So a bit of a break for MPs again. Melanie Paradis here, Texture Communications, Jeff Rutledge, McMillan, Vantage. Gas prices, I mean, it's painful. It's painful, gas prices. Australia, the Australian government cut gas taxes today by 28 cents a litre. Mark Carney and Francois Philippe Champagne have been asked about a gas tax relief. They haven't committed to anything. But Jeff, should they? I mean, that's an easy win if you ask me. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, for Alberta in particular, they have a mechanism where they can bring that relief relatively quickly. Although my understanding is that, it wasn't triggered in the most recent quarter. But look, I think the cost of living is the primary concern here, of course. And, you can make the adjustments at the pump, certainly, but that isn't going to change the fundamentals that are being impacted by the current economic environment we're in. And, I would say that for a government to come forward and dismiss calls for a reduction to gas taxes is a very naive response. But I understand where they're coming from when they say they don't want that to be the automatic response each time, the prices spike at the pumps based on whatever's going on in geopolitics at the time. But the reality is that we as Canadians should not be paying what we pay for gas. We should be much more independent. And that, at the end of the day, is the real solution. So maybe build some pipelines and make it easier for us to get it out of the ground here.
I mean, Poilievre was pounding away yesterday about Alto. We need to cancel Alto, high-speed rail between Quebec City and Toronto. I think he should be pounding away on gas prices, Melanie. And Carney should be saying something about gas prices. What do you think?
I do agree with Jeff. However, I think this is fraught with longer-term complexity. So we've seen in the past week that economists are talking about and politicians are preparing for $200 a barrel oil, U.S.
Right.
That will trigger a global recession. And so if the challenge is, if the price keeps going up, you've lost all of your levers to provide some relief early on. Yes, they could provide relief right now, but what's going to happen 2 months from now when the conditions are even worse, and then there's nothing left for them to do to help? So I think, on one hand, of course, I want them out there talking about gas prices because that is the pain point for everyday Canadians. But pragmatically, I do think that, unfortunately, this is going to get worse before it gets better, and they must be thinking, what is it that we're going to be able to do in 6 weeks if we take all of our tools off the table now?
Okay.
Sorry
one
to be
more quick one. Maybe that's okay. Maybe in about 30 seconds or less here. How does this happen? We have a story in the morning. The Globe and Mail claims the Liberals are going to prorogue Parliament if they win all 3 by-elections. And the Prime Minister, mere hours away, just bats that away, says it's not going to happen. Where does a story like that come from, Jeff? Very quickly.
Well, those who don't know speak, and those who know don't speak. So I suspect that this was a conversation over a cocktail where somebody who espouses that they know what's going on the inside might have shared some information, and a reporter ran with it and didn't confirm their source on it. So I think it's probably just an error, but good on the Prime Minister for nipping it in the bud if it's not the case.
Okay. I was wondering if it was, I don't know, maybe a trial balloon or something. Melanie, what do you think?
Yeah, it could also be a trial balloon. I mean, we see those often. And then another option is just real contingency planning. Like, this could have been something that was floated, and then, to Jeff's point, someone who wasn't close enough to know that did not have sign-off shared it as a viable option.
Okay. Thanks to both of you. Great to hear from you. We'll speak soon. All the best.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melanie Paradis from Texture Communications, from McMillan Vantage, Jeff Rutledge. Talkback coming up with Alberta independence on the mind. This is News Radio.
It's time to talk back.
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. And today's topic is the Republic of Alberta, an independent Alberta. So according to the organizers of the Alberta Independence Movement, the Alberta Prosperity Project, Stay Free Alberta, they have enough signatures to move ahead with a referendum sometime later this year that will ask the people of Alberta if they want to leave Alberta and form their own country. And we want to ask you a whole bunch of questions about that. And these are just some conversation starters just to get the conversation going today. And we're welcoming calls from all across the country on this, okay? It's not just an Alberta thing. I mean, the fate of the entire country could be at stake. You know, think about this. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. Do you think the people of Alberta would be better off or worse off if Alberta left Canada? There's one for you. Do you think the people of Alberta would be better off or worse off if Alberta left Canada? What do you think? The very idea of an independent Alberta, is that a crazy idea? You think that's a crazy idea? That's crazy, Rob. That's crazy. It's crazy. Or does it make complete sense to you? What do you think? Do you think the people of Alberta have legitimate complaints about how the province has been treated? By Ottawa? By Confederation? Or are they complaining for no good reason? The Alberta Premier, Danielle Smith, says she supports a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. Do you believe her when she says that? Do you really think she wants Alberta to remain part of Canada? She says she does. Or do you think she supports an independent Alberta? And one more. Do you think that this bid for an independent Alberta could actually succeed? Or is it doomed to fail? just some conversation starters. Just want to get the conversation going today on this idea of an independent Alberta. Could it actually succeed, or is it doomed to fail? We want to know where you stand on this. All of our phone lines are open right now. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. One name that keeps coming up when you follow the independence movement story in Alberta is Jeffrey Rath, lawyer with the Alberta Prosperity Project. A few weeks ago, he was on Fox News. And during that appearance on Fox News, he explained why he thought Alberta should leave Canada. He said Canada's just lost its way. Let's play clip 1, please.
Trudeau and Carney, are all wringing their hands over the tariffs. They're going to be kicking Albertans in the teeth and bringing in a 21% carbon tax increase in April. This is, the carbon tax itself is just an insult to hardworking Albertans that can't afford to heat their homes and can't afford diesel and gas for their cars and trucks to go to work. That's a big part of why it is that people in Alberta are fed up with being governed by idiotic politicians from Quebec and Ontario that do not understand our province and do not understand that culturally we're far more closely affiliated with our friends to the south in Montana than we are with all of the people in Ottawa wringing their hands over the smell of diesel exhaust when people from Alberta come to protest how badly we're being treated by Ottawa.
Jeffrey Rath. He also told our colleagues with City News in Edmonton that he thinks if Premier Danielle Smith wants to keep her job, she needs to stop all of this talk about a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada and actually join the separatist movement.
The more signatures we turn in, the more likely it's going to be that she's going to have to stop saying, I support a strong Alberta within a united Canada, and start actively leading, Alberta to freedom, right? At the end of the day, if she wants to keep her job, I think she's going to have to.
For her part, Premier Smith continues to maintain that she's not part of the independence movement, that she's not a separatist. She says she's just giving people a chance to have their say on an important issue through a referendum. Clip 3, please.
We stay a province and we go through and we address the very legitimate grievances that we have from Albertans, whether it's on signing the MOU to give confidence that we can grow our energy economy again, whether it's taking control over immigration, which will be some of the ballot questions in the fall.
Not a separatist, just wants people to be heard. But she's getting all kinds of heat now because one of her MLAs, Jason Stephan from Red Deer, wrote a column for the news outlet The Western Standard. And in that column, he said, Ottawa has made itself a danger and a threat to freedom and prosperity. He said many of its institutions are broken and corrupted. He said for Albertans to pretend that the Ottawa establishment will fix Canada is false hope. And he said the status quo is unacceptable and it will get worse. Sign the petition. Now, he also said signing the petition to have a referendum is different from how people will actually vote in a referendum, but he doesn't have very many nice things to say about Canada these days and how he feels Canada is mistreating Alberta. Maybe you agree with this. But there are other ways to look at this. Is it really so bad in Alberta right now? The average median after-tax household income in Alberta is the highest in Canada. Alberta has the lowest top provincial income tax rate, the lowest starting tax bracket, no provincial sales tax, no healthcare premiums like added taxes for healthcare. Province of Alberta is producing record amounts of oil right now. If you live in Alberta, you have the highest incomes, the lowest taxes. You live in a province producing record amounts of oil, all while being part of Canada. Some might ask, why all the fuss? It is very likely independence will be on the ballot for voters in Alberta this fall in a referendum. The people who want that referendum say, we have the signatures, tens of thousands of signatures. We've collected all of these names well ahead of schedule. When we hold rallies, we get big crowds. But is it going anywhere? Or is it all just a fantasy pie in the sky and never going to happen? The Republic of Alberta. Could you see it ever coming to pass? That's what we want to know today with your help. 1-833-668-2577. If you've never called before, just mention that. We'll make your call a priority. And let's talk about it. Alberta waving a friendly goodbye? This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Grant is in Calgary, and he's up first on our topic today, Alberta independence. So many questions, so many questions. Hello, Grant.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi,
Hello.
Grant. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Do you think Alberta would be better off or worse off if Alberta left Canada?
I think we'd be worse off.
You think it'd be worse off? Okay.
Yeah, we'd be landlocked. I mean, if BC said no, our oil wouldn't be going to the coast anymore. We'd only have the option of sending it south. As far as the Alberta pension and stuff goes, I did that survey a couple of years ago, and they wouldn't release the information for a couple of years. Finally, they did. 62% of the people that did the survey said, leave it alone. Don't touch the pension. How do they figure they're going to be able to give us more when there's more people in the rest of Canada than there is in the province of Alberta? There's only 4 million people here.
Okay. Do you think the idea of an independent Alberta, is it crazy? Do you think it's a crazy idea?
I think they're, I don't want to use the word lunatics, but I'm going to say it. I think they're lunatics. I got friends who say it's not going to happen. I was reading a story last night. This guy went kind of incognito to the one of the petition signings of the Big Four, and they were already talking. If they get this separation to go, they're talking about deportations and people having to redo their permanent residency applications and stuff like that. I think it's crazy.
Okay.
We don't have any kind of...
Do you think it could succeed, though? What's your sense of it being there? Do you think they could win?
I don't know. I hope not. I read something also last night. This guy that was at the reporter that was at the petition signing thing there, the professor at one of the universities said that she doesn't think that there's enough of these people that are going to get it to go through. I mean, you only got a few thousand people showing up for this petition signing and stuff. But I mean, Smith gave them a favor. They lowered the threshold for signatures and increased the amount of time to get those signatures. So she's kind of helping them in a way. I sure as hell hope it doesnn't happen, but yeah. I mean, who knows?
You think she's a separatist? You think she's an Alberta separatist?
I think she's going to go. I think she'd go turn either way. Whatever's in her benefit.
Whatever's in her benefit. Okay, you've got us off and running, Grant. Thank you. Yeah, great first call. 1-833-668-2577. Linda's in Southern Alberta. Hello, Linda. All right, let's go to Bob then. Bob is up next. Hi, Bob.
Hi. Well,
yeah, hi,
this
Bob.
is an interesting topic because I don't believe that a lot of people understand really what's going to happen. A lot of people are concerned, obviously, about pensions and things like that. We have to look over to a province that's a little bit east of Alberta and look at Quebec, who have their own pension plan. And it is possible for Albertans to have our own pension plan and not lose money because of that. Also, I think that the main point of having a separation movement like this is just to bring more attention to Alberta. Alberta transfers a lot of money down east to other provinces like Ontario. And I'm not quite sure why the center of Canada, which is the richest province in the country, needs to have transfer funds from Alberta. Also,
yeah, fair enough. Your province is quite wealthy as well, and your province is in line this year to get $9.2 billion in federal transfers. You are aware of that, right? $9 billion?
Right. And how much are we transferring out?
You collect $9 billion from the federal government.
How much are we transferring out? And what is the potential?
Well, how do you calculate that out when equalization is a federal program? It's not a provincial program. It's not like Alberta is cutting a check and sending it to Atlantic Canada. That's money from the federal government.
Yeah, that Alberta puts into the federal government, yes. So Alberta transfers money to the federal government so it can transfer money elsewhere. But the question is, why are we doing that in the level that we're doing that? Alberta's been basically the cash cow of Canada, and it's because of our oil and gas. And now we've got the rest of Canada saying, well, you shouldn't have any opportunity to sell your oil and gas anywhere, east, west, north, or south.
But you're producing record amounts of oil right now. You're producing record amounts of oil right now. You're producing 1 million barrels of oil more than you were 9 years ago.
That's very true. Can you imagine if we had 12 or 15 or 100 more pipelines going in every direction of Canada? How much more money we could pump out? Because Alberta has enough oil and gas to supply what Saudi Arabia and all the rest. So you think Alberta would be better off?
You think Alberta would be better off, right? You think Alberta would be better off if it left Canada? The world would be better off. I don't think Canada would be better off. It's just my own opinion. Okay. You can yell at me and hang up in my ear. That's fine. I'm just trying to debate the issue with you, sir. 1-833-668-2577. Alberta independence. Our topic of the day on Talkback. The country is at stake, everyone. Love to hear from you today. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The Republic of Alberta. That's our topic of the day. Alberta independence with Francine and Okotoks. Hi, Francine.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I don't agree with the separation at all.
You don't? Okay.
I think the Alberta Prosperity Project has not given a single fact on replacing all the funding we get from the government for airports, federal employees, and all that. It is backed by an economist.
Right. So you think what? They're pulling the wool over people's eyes?
Oh, I think they are quite a bit, yes.
You do?
And I know people that and I know people that said they signed the petition just to show Ottawa that they're mad, but they would never vote yes.
I see. All right. It's kind of it's an act of protest in itself just to sign the petition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if it'll actually go to the referendum in October. They keep saying that, but it has to be, the signatures have to be cleared by Elections Alberta first.
That's right.
And then Alberta has to write the question so it won't be challenged legally, I don't think, in court and stuff like that. It's going to take them a bit to get it all organized.
Right. Yeah, they seem to think that they're going to be on track, and that it could be on the ballot in October, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it necessarily will be, because they also have to take in the Forever Canada petition, too, that came in first with more signatures.
Yeah, I believe that one is tied up in kind of court squabbling now, is it not?
I'm not sure. I know the Alberta Separation one is going to have a court thing coming up, because they said some of the First Nations is taking it to court.
Now, do you think it could actually succeed? Like right now, the polls would suggest it's not on track to succeed, but you never know with these things.
No, I don't think it will, because, I mean, I'm a proud Canadian. I've lived in Alberta since I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Canadian first and an Albertan second. And I don't think Ottawa treats us that badly a lot of times. They forget about the healthcare transfers we get, the grants the government gives to the universities to do research and all that stuff. They don't take that into consideration when they talk about the transfer payments and not getting anything back.
Okay. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is consistent that she doesn't want Alberta to separate. She wants a stronger Alberta within a united Canada. Do you believe her?
Not 100%. She was my MLA when she ran for the Wild Rose, and then she crossed the floor. I've never liked the woman because she crossed the floor. Like, I'm going, sorry.
Okay.
So I don't really trust her. Like, I mean, she's also been fired by the Alberta government themselves on when she was on the Calgary school board. Like the whole school board got fired. So I don't completely trust the
I'm
woman.
not familiar with that, but right.
Yeah,
right.
the whole school, the whole Calgary school board got fired at one point.
Okay.
Or the trustees, I should say. But I don't 100% trust the woman. I don't think she, and my other thing is they all complain about representatives and stuff in Ottawa. It's going to be worse as more centralized government will be worse off.
Okay, so not a separatist. You think Alberta would be worse off? You have questions about Danielle Smith to begin with, and you don't think they're going to win. Okay, thank you. Yeah, very good. Be right back with more of your calls. Alberta Independence, the Republic of Alberta, right after the latest breaking news here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Alberta Independence, our topic of the day. Do you think it could actually succeed? Do you think Alberta would be better off? That and many more questions as we get right back to our call. Sammy up next. Hello, Sammy.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi, Sammy. Hear you just fine, Sammy.
Great.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, great. I just want to say how amazed I am with lack of knowledge and lack of information and ignorance. The 2 callers ago was showing, and the guy who was yelling at you and you correctly corrected him that Alberta does not write a check to Ottawa in any form and shape to send any money to Ottawa as far as transfer, except individuals who work in Alberta, they pay income tax, federal income tax, and that's the only transfer of money. And if he doesn't want to transfer any money to Ottawa, maybe he shouldn't be working in Alberta or in Canada. He should go to U.S. because all of them are pro-Trump. These are all pro-American Republican, right-wing, who are planning this nonsense. And also I would like to bring to your attention, no matter how much they want to try to separate the province of Alberta, mathematically is impossible. Now let me ask you a question. How many signatures, the independent Alberta, how many signatures are they claiming that they have gathered so far? How many?
I think it's 157,000, something like that.
Let's call it 200,000. Is that okay?
Sure. Okay. You round it up then. Okay. All right. Let's say 200. Sure. Well, I'll run with it, Sammy. Go ahead. Let's say it's 200.
Yeah. Let's be generous about these crazy and nonsensical people. Let's say they are so lucky they got 200 signatures. Rob, in Alberta we have 4.5 million population. 2/3 of Alberta they live in Calgary and Edmonton. Calgary is 1.6. Edmonton is 1.4. This is approximate. So 3 million of population of Alberta are in Edmonton and Calgary combined. Then we have another 1.5 million, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Red Deer, Fort Mac, Grand Prairie, and the rural area is 1.5 at best. So if you minus those who are under the age of 18, so the eligible voters who can really vote are probably around, let's say, 3.5 million. Let's call it 3 million. So
okay, let's call it 3 million. I like round numbers.
Okay, so 200,000 versus 3 million. Do you think, in a right mind, in any logical form and shape, these 200,000, again, I am being generous when I say 200,000, right? So these 200,000 people, are they able to separate from the rest of Canada? I mean, this is so crazy. I'm just laughing.
Okay, well, gathering signatures on a petition is one thing, but when it's put to the voters, in a referendum, it'll be a lot more than 200,000 people who vote. But you think it's all stuff, nonsense, right-wing, Trump-driven. I got you, Sammy. I have other calls to get to. Thank you. You've made your position clear. You think it's crazy. That's one of the questions I have. It's the idea crazy. He thinks it's crazy. Let's ask Corey what he thinks. What do you think, Corey? Is it crazy? Or is the last caller crazy? I don't know.
What I'm going to point out is I'm fifth-generation Albertan. And since 1979, there's been a campaign to blame Ottawa for all the mismanagement of assets in Alberta oil and gas industry. In 1979, Peter Lougheed sold their second largest revenue source, Crown-owned pipeline building company. And that revenue was lost and caused a lot of disdain for the Conservative Party. And then they started blaming Ottawa. And Ottawa in 1981 tried to implement a national energy program to prevent the selling off of assets in Canada and Alberta for oil and gas and other natural resources. And as a result, Alberta has been under foreign influence by U.S. profiteers, making it so that there's a hate Ottawa program based on lies and propaganda that is false, and anybody promoting falsehood should be held to account. That's like perjury, especially when politicians do it. And these foreign entities that are backing a lot of the conservative movements and businesses here in Alberta profit immensely from the ignorance of Alberta voters. And we sell our oil at below fair market value compared to Mexico heavy, Venezuela heavy oil, and we are getting taken to the cleaners economically. And every time somebody raises concerns, we are told it's Ottawa's fault. No, it's not Ottawa's fault. It's the conservative movement here in Alberta, and like any crybaby, you got to change the diapers once in a while, and Alberta has failed to change the diapers to keep the corruption out of the province and to make it a more equitable place. If we got fair market value for our oil and gas, there'd be no crying. And the pipeline blockage is caused by foreign influences not wanting more pipelines to anywhere to West Coast, East Coast. They want all the oil flowing south, and Smith has already said she's more than willing to double the pipeline headed south again. So the problem is the blame game, and I'm tired of it.
Okay. Do you think it could succeed? Could it succeed?
No.
An Alberta you don't think so?
As a fifth generation, there's many of my people I went to school with. We all know that you're not removing us from Canada, so you're going to cause a civil war. And that's a problem. When you're talking that, you're going to force Canadians to leave Canada. I'm born in Alberta. I'm not sure, that you're going to remove me from Canada. What are you going to do? Boot me to another province? I'm not going. And that means you're going to have a civil war.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Thank you for your call. Just whining and complaining the same way they've been doing for decades. It's a blame game, blaming Ottawa. Corey. Okay, thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Lines available. This is Talkback News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
The Republic of Alberta, does it have a nice ring to it for you? Let's ask Kate in Calgary. Hello, Kate.
Oh, hi, Rob. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. Kate, first-time caller, I understand?
I am a first-time caller.
Gotta love it. I love to hear it. I love to hear it, Kate. You've just made my day. What do you think of the independence movement in Alberta? Do you think it could succeed?
Well, I want to bring up or mention some information because about the Forever Canadian petition, because I think that's an important part of this conversation. And you didn't seem to quite know what was going on there, which surprised me. So the Forever Canadian petition, whose question was, do you agree that Alberta should stay in Canada? And we're operating by the original rules for these citizen-led petitions. So they were required to get, I believe it was 277,000 signatures, which was...
And you had more than 400,000, right? More than 400,000.
456,000, actually. And they succeeded, and they've been verified and counted, and all the signatures checked that they were actual voters living in Alberta back in October of last year. So that automatically, legally triggers a referendum. And it's been sitting on Danielle Smith's desk since last October. And the fellow that was sort of spearheading that movement here in Alberta to sign the petition, he's been pushing, and he's been, going on news and doing this and that. So it was just recently. It's not tied up in court. It's never been tied up in court. It's always been 100% approved by Elections Alberta, verified by Elections Alberta, and now requires a referendum. And there's no court cases at all. But Danielle Smith has just been completely ignoring it. And she only just recently, in the last week or two, I believe, formed a committee to look at it, a committee that has 2 NDP members, but the majority is all UCP members. So I don't know what it is that they think they're looking at. And also, for the separatist referendum, she changed the laws. The laws for citizen-led petitions in order to give... Yes, in order to give the separatist petition twice as much time to get signatures, and they only required to get half as many signatures. So I just wanted to point that up. That out.
Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's useful information for me. But could you see the independence movement succeeding? That's what I want to get at today.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, nobody thought Brexit would go. Nobody thought that Trump would get in another term. True. And personally, I think when people are enraged about something, whether their grievances or what they're enraged about are real or not, they are more likely to vote than somebody who says, my life's pretty okay, and I'm struggling a bit to pay groceries, and prices have gone up, but my life's good. My kids are healthy. I like my job. I'm happy. I still am paying the bills, and maybe are not following politics and not so involved, and they're busy too. They're working full time and whatnot. I know when I was working full time and raising a family, I didn't have time to really follow the nitty gritties of politics. Whereas now, as a retired person, I have all day to do that. So I think when it comes to an actual vote, the other day something came up. I was talking to somebody and said something about these petitions, and they hadn't heard of either petition. They didn't know the Separatists had a petition. They didn't know there was a Forever Canadian petition, and I was flabbergasted. But they're also very not paying attention to stuff like that, if you know what I mean. And they're quite content.
They've got other things on their mind. Yeah, fair enough. So what if it came to pass? Okay, it's referendum night. We're all watching the results come in, and they eke out some kind of victory. It could come to pass. It's not impossible.
Like I say, I never say never. Brexit and Trump, that really brought it home for me. Nothing's written in stone in life, right? So if the separatists did happen to squeak through, because I know that they're not a majority. It's just a question of who will feel most compelled to vote in the upcoming election, and or all the referendum questions that Smith wants to put forward, which are a lot. And she's been going all around the province drumming up support and raising grievances and raising hatred against immigrants and raising hatred against Ottawa and all this stuff in order to support the referendum she wants to do. So what will actually happen, I don't know in the actual vote, but do I think it is possible for Alberta to separate? I think that the chances of that are so slim and would take so long to start with that we would have any number of other governments in Alberta by that time, possibly, maybe, or at least maybe not Danielle Smith, and maybe more petitions and more referendums. And I think it could be, even if there was a referendum and they won by, a single vote, doesn't matter, it would take so long And meanwhile, the economic environment and investments in Alberta and stuff would be
would deteriorate. Yeah, I understand your point. The uncertainty that it would create would lead to a lot of economic pain potentially. Thank you. Good call. 1-833-668. Very informative, Kate. Thank you. 668-2577. Back on the phones in just a moment here on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
In Lacombe, Alberta, Brian is up next. Hello, Brian.
Yes, hello, Rob.
Yeah, very good to hear from you, Brian.
Good. I'd just like to mention a couple of things here.
Sure.
I'd just like to show some Albertans what Alberta does. Alberta gets per capita allocations 1,792 per person.
Yes.
Yeah. Quebec gets 3,317, and that's on the government website. That's for 2025.
That's
then
right.
You got that wind farm project that was so happy about a week ago, and it's run by three people that are related to the three MPs and a former Nova Scotia Liberal Party leader. And first of all, they start off with $206 million loan, and then they get another $122.5 million tax credits, and then they get $25 million for the construction site of the wind turbines. Now, that's pretty good. Now, I've worked all over the world, and I've seen this in other countries. I've seen the same stuff in other countries, third world countries. So that's where we're going. And the thing is, once we start getting, if we could get our own pension plan, our own police force, look at Quebec. How did they get all this stuff? Their own immigration policy. And then, can you imagine a guy getting fired?
Okay. You're right. Quebec has a lot of control over its own immigration. It has its own pension plan. It has its own provincial police force. It has its own, hydroelectricity utility. All of these things. It's still part of Canada, though. It's proof positive you can have all of those things if you I guess lobby hard enough or use leverage well enough. It can still remain part of Canada. Do you have to separate in order to have all of those things?
This separation is a vote that people are fed up with the way Ottawa thinks. And how come they're firing all these CIA people? This is...
okay. Well, that's a conversation for another day. That's a conversation for another day. Now, you mentioned, and I raised the issue of the wind farm in Nova Scotia and the political connections there, and that's well reported. I would also point out, if your point is look at the federal government and look at the investments that they're making in other industries all across the country, you're right. But I would also point out the federal government is pouring big money into this carbon capture and storage project that you've got going on there in Alberta. Like more than $300 million they're putting into that project just for the R&D of it.
Yeah, that's for the green folks. How much money are we throwing in for the green folks?
Huh. I don't know. How many zeros can you put on your calculator, I suppose? Yeah. But your government is supportive of that. The Alberta government is supportive of that because I guess they're not going to get a pipeline without it, right?
If this vote gets us away from equalization, that would prove we've done something.
Okay. So you support it. Do you think you'll be better off? Fair enough. That's what I'm asking. Do you think you're going to win? You think you can win?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to see and vote.
You'll see and vote. Okay. Thank you. There you go. 1-833-668-2577. That was a quick hour of Talkback. Hour number 2, just ahead after the news.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number 2 of Talkback, where we have been talking about Alberta independence and the many questions that surround it. Do you think it could actually succeed? Do you think Alberta would be better off? Is it a crazy idea? What about Danielle Smith? She says she wants Alberta to stay part of Canada. Do you believe her? Let's get right back to it here. It's been very busy today. Matt is up next, calling from Calgary. Hello, Matt.
Hi there.
Hi, Matt. What do you think?
I guess, with your questions you just put out there, I guess I would have initially thought that maybe Danielle Smith was in favor of separation, but I think since this, maybe in the past year or so, it's become more and more apparent that I don't think she's necessarily on the side of independence. I think he does want to get a better deal for Alberta, but wants to do that from within the country. I guess you said earlier, isn't it possible for Alberta to have some of the same things that Quebec does while still part of Canada? And I think that there's some question about whether or not that would be possible to pay for several additional provinces, because that funding undeniably comes from a few provinces, Alberta being the biggest one. So I think there's a lot of confusion about transfer payments and stuff like that. But I think really the bottom line is that, somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 billion leaves Alberta through taxes and other like EI and CPP and stuff like that. And roughly $45 billion of that doesn't come back into the province. And so that is, a substantial amount of money that would be, really useful in kind of being used in a way that would benefit our province a lot more. So I don't know if there's enough money around to fund what's happening in places like Quebec on a countrywide scale. I don't think that that's possible. Someone is paying for it, and a lot of that is Albertans. So I would definitely say I'm in favor of Alberta independence. I don't know that it's possible.
You are?
I think that
Okay.
Yes.
And what makes you in favor of Alberta independence? Obviously, you think Alberta would be better off. Is it purely finances? The fiscal arrangement? Is that all it is? It's all about money? Is there a cultural component to it?
I've lived here my whole life, and I run a business, and we employ 10 people. And I think it's not something that I've, the talk of Alberta separation has, been out there for my entire lifetime. And I used to think it was crazy. But in the past 10 to 15 years, the way that things have gone, it's become very clear that the prosperity of Alberta is being slowed down by policies from Ottawa, and there is no end in sight to that, and that the quality of life in the province is slipping, and it's getting to a point where I'm concerned that it's not something we're going to be able to regain. I feel like I would have never thought to leave this province or this country before, but it's on this path. I don't see, for my son, for instance, I don't see him having the same quality of life that I did, or even something measurably close.
All right, fair enough. I would just point out these numbers again. You have the highest incomes in Canada. It's really not even close. Like after-tax household income, $88,500 a year, $14,000 above the national average, $22,000 more than where I live here in Quebec, $25,000 more than any other Atlantic provinces. Of the Atlantic provinces, you have the lowest taxes.
Sure, I would.
You have record oil production.
Cost of living here has always been higher than it has been in the rest of Canada, save the last decade or so, when housing got out of control, and that was again another federal policy that caused that to happen. That was not an Alberta policy that brought, an unsustainable number of people to Canada in a short span of time. So,
well, that's one component. That's one component of it, international migration or immigration. But you also have people from all across Canada who want to move to Alberta because they see it as a land of opportunity. Your government was inviting people, please come move to Alberta.
Yeah, we definitely had spots to fill. Like there was employment available here up until a point, and then there was no way that anyone could have kept up with what was happening over the past 5-6 years since 2020. There's no way you could build homes fast enough or even build businesses quickly enough to keep up with growth of that kind of rate. So I'm not by any means here to defend the Alberta government. Like I say, I don't feel like they are working 100% in my favor either.
Okay.
Talking about shipping more oil to the United States.
You're in favor of independence now. Thank you. You've made a good case. I'm going to move along, though. We're going to take another one from Calgary. Karen, up next. Karen.
Hey, Rob. How you doing?
Very good. Very good.
Good.
How about you, Karen? You're good?
I'm doing great.
The
best thing about this vote is Alberta will decide. Albertans will decide. Not Quebec, not Ontario, nobody else but us will decide what happens with us. Albertans are sick and tired of being told, sit down, shut up, and sign the check. I, for one, am sickened by the installed government that has been screwing us for years. I didn't vote for Mark Carney, and I'm sure nobody else did. But he's out there destroying us day after day after day, and I'm done with it. So Albertans will decide. Finally.
Okay. Do you think you're going to be better off? Why do you think you're going to be better off?
Well, I can tell you one thing is I won't have to listen to Mark Carney try and bribe the rest of Canada about how awesome he is. I won't have to listen to the freeloaders, which I call the NDP party, kooking around with green hair, blue hair, yellow hair, telling me what I'm going to do with my money. Canada is way too soft, and Alberta is tired of it. And I don't think Danielle is up for separation because I listen to her every weekend. She says the same thing. Unfortunately, as an example, can we even get the RCMP here? There's too much corruption. You can't even get an Alberta to show up here for the RCMP because there's nobody that will take the job. Canada is full of nothing but corrupt politicians in the East, and Alberta's frankly sick of it.
Are there no corrupt politicians in the West?
Well,
corruption just stops? What, does corruption just stop at the border?
You can see the corruption, the freeloaders in BC, Eby, he's given all the land away to the natives.
All right. Conversation for another day. Thank you, Karen. Ray of sunshine as always. Be right back. This is Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On the Republic of Alberta, our topic today, Mike in Calgary. Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
It goes, buddy, with or without me. Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of take this into a different direction because I haven't heard anyone speak about this. But I'm not sure that the separatists actually understand what the ramifications are of becoming an independent country. We're talking currency. We'd have to create our own currency. All the big banks that are currently located in Alberta, imports, exports, that come through and into this province, like where are we getting things? Do you think the prices are going to go up because we have the buying power of an entire 40 million in a country, and then becoming a province, a separate country, we're going to be buying power of 4.5 mil. We have no ports, we have no coast. Insurance companies, that's a big one, especially in Alberta, especially in Calgary.
Okay. Why is that a big one?
Well, how many insurance companies are considered leaving Alberta due to the high cost of hail repairs, for example?
All right.
And they did a report recently in what it would cost to become government insurance, and it was an outrageous amount. So you're talking about the possibility of big insurance companies leaving this province if we became an independent country.
Okay.
Travel, immigration, all that stuff. There's so many different things that need to be taken into consideration when becoming an independent country, and we can't piggyback off of Canada anymore.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is one of the things. I mean, you raised so many good points and interesting points. Like, what about people from Atlantic Canada or British Columbia who travel to, say, Northern Alberta to work during parts of the year? There are lots of people like that who do that, right? They work in Alberta part of the year. Right? Are they going to need a work permit?
Half the time in BC, same thing.
Just one. Like, are they going to have a work permit now? Has anyone asked this? Yeah. Has anyone answered this? Yeah, something like that.
Exactly. Travel documents. Are we going to have our own passport now? How many agreements are we going to have internationally with other countries for free travel without visas and such?
Yeah.
Right?
What about your military? What about the military? Like, is it Alberta Armed Forces? Are the Americans going to be the de facto armed forces for Alberta? What about the Canadian Armed Forces bases that are in Alberta? Like in places like Cold Lake or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then bigger businesses. So WestJet is based out of Calgary, for example. Is just WestJet going to remain in Calgary, or are they going to move now because of that? How many jobs are going to be affected?
Yeah.
How many people are willing to leave Alberta? Yeah, Enbridge, WestJet.
One of the big railways is there. CP, I think, is headquartered there. Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So these are all things that need to be considered. Now, do I think it's actually going to happen? I doubt it. If it does, it ain't something that's going to happen overnight. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All interesting points you raised, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for taking us off in that direction. It's a good direction to go. Joe is in Kitchener. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Rob. Listen,
Hi, Joe.
I want to appeal to all Albertans who are listening right now. There is a large number of us in Ontario, thoughtful people that care, respect, and value you as part of Canada. So don't think that you're all alone out there on an island, even though you're landlocked, blah, blah, blah. We do not want you to separate, and we value you very much. Now, having said that, from a philosophical standpoint, I certainly understand where they're coming from. They've had to deal with Trudeau, who was a stupid clown for 10 years, and his little puppet Guilbeault, who is equally just as stupid. So, from that standpoint, I certainly understand the frustration of all Albertans. But from a pragmatic standpoint, I think it's utter lunacy based on what your previous caller just outlined. Add this to it. I mean, so you have a product that you want to move to the rest of the world. Well, now you're landlocked because you've just separated from Canada from a theoretical standpoint. Where are you going to move that? Well, you got to move it through Canada. You think that, okay, well, guess what? That's going to cost you. You want to move it through United States? Guess what? They're licking their chops right now, waiting for the opportunity to jam you for moving your product over their borders to get to a coast. Whatever profit margin you thought you had on your natural resources just evaporated. So that's just one part of the equation to think about, Rob. But from a pragmatic standpoint, I don't think it's going to happen, and I really hope it doesn't.
Yeah, but I want to thank you, Joe. Your call is so meaningful to me today because there are a lot of people who understand what Alberta has been through and what it had to deal with under Mr. Trudeau, and you're right, Mr. Guilbeault, and countless others during that decade. And they sympathize with Alberta, and they don't think Alberta has been treated very well, but they also don't want Alberta to leave. And I think you're bang on there. They want Alberta to succeed because they know if Alberta succeeds, Canada does better. I'm Rob Snow. It's Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right. I believe we have Greg in High River on the line. He's going to share his thoughts right now on the independence movement in Alberta. Hello, Greg.
Hey, Rob. First-time
Greg.
caller, long-time listener.
I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you.
I'm 100% in favor of separation. Do I think it's going to happen? No.
Yeah. You don't think it's going to happen? Okay.
Why won't it happen?
Why do you think it'll fail?
Because I think we'll get about 40% of the vote. I think Ottawa, even if we did manage to get over the threshold of 50%, I don't think Ottawa would ever let us go anyways. I think they would fight us tooth and nail, and nothing would become of it. We had a referendum a few years ago here on equalization, and the overwhelming majority of Albertans voted in favor of getting rid of it, but what became of it? I mean,
nothing has happened with equalization, and even Prime Minister Harper, the great conservative from Calgary, even he renewed the equalization formula pretty much the way it is now.
And this is the longest period of time in Canada that it's never been revamped. Like it's been the same for 18 years?
Not sure how long it's been the same way, but there's probably, I've said this before, there are probably 6 people in Canada who understand the way it's actually calculated, and I'm not one of them, because some of it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense, because Quebec, they don't have to include their electricity into the formula, which is huge. Like, that's probably almost as big as our oil industry.
Mm-hmm.
And we give so much money to the rest of Canada, like especially Quebec. I mean, they've never even signed their constitution. So as far as them being part of Canada, are they really? They're just here for the money.
Just here for the money. Well, there's no... when they ask Quebecers now... if they want to separate, it's pretty much an overwhelming no right now. If the PQ wins the next if the PQ wins the next election, they vow they're going to hold a referendum. But things have narrowed in Quebec right now. It's kind of neck and neck. It looked like the PQ was going to romp to victory in this fall's election, but now it's neck and neck with the, God forbid, the Quebec Liberals. But
the polls aren't always right either.
Right. Okay. Right, but you do raise something. If you don't think it's going to happen anyway, but 50% plus one vote is not enough anyway. Under the Clarity Act, that was brought in after the 95 referendum. Well, it's a majority, but it has to be a clear majority on a clear and unambiguous question.
Well, I believe the question is pretty clear and unambiguous.
I would say this one is, yeah. But is it 50 plus 1? Mr. Carney was asked just yesterday if 50 plus 1 was good enough for Quebec, and he totally dodged the question. If he doesn't think it's good enough for Quebec, I doubt he thinks it's good enough for Alberta either. Thank you. Be right back.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
One of the things that I've been thinking about as I follow this Alberta independence movement, even as I take calls today, just an observer. I don't get a vote. I'm just an interested observer who would like to see the country stay together. But one of the things that I've been thinking about, and we've been asking our callers today, is could they actually pull this off, the independence movement in Alberta? The chances of succeeding when so many of the polls suggest it's not going to happen, could they actually pull it off? It's been said in the past that if you're starting from behind in a referendum, whatever the referendum question is, separation questions, any other question, if you're starting from behind, like the independence movement appears to be, it's very hard to convince enough people to come over to your side. You have to change a lot of minds. It's hard to change people's minds. And this is a very important question. It's a very emotional question. It's important to a lot of people. You're asking people if they want to be part of breaking up the country. And a lot of people love Canada. We've heard it today. A lot of Albertans love Canada. They don't want to see Alberta leave Canada. Even if they agree, like I do and some of the callers do, that Alberta hasn't been treated very well by Ottawa, not just for the last 10 years. You could probably go back decades. We've heard it expressed here today. People sympathize with, they even support the idea that Alberta has every right to be angry with Ottawa about the way it's been treated. But there are also lots of people who love Canada. They see themselves as Canadians first. Maybe they fought for Canada. Maybe they have family members who fought and died for Canada. So it's a very emotional issue. It can be difficult to convince some people's minds to break up the country. You know, let's say these polls are accurate. Say it's 30%, give or take. 30% of the people in Alberta would vote to leave Canada. Still a lot of minds to change if you want to get anywhere close to, say, 50% and then some. Not impossible. Difficult. Al is in Calgary. Thanks for waiting, Al. Hi there.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good, Al. Yeah. What do you think?
Very good. Thanks, Rob. Hey, I'm obviously I'm in favor of independence. Absolutely. The issue for me mostly is just basically control over everything, control over who gets our finances, control over how much we pay to whoever, and how our freedoms are used against us or for us. Like every time Carney opens his mouth, he's bringing out something that's taking away our freedoms or gives us more fuel for freedom.
Okay. How so? Like, give me an example of what you're talking about. How has... I'm not here to defend the Liberals in Ottawa. I'm not here to defend the Liberals in Ottawa, but I'm curious what you mean and if you can provide an example of how, say, this government, from this prime minister who's been here for like a little more than a year, how he's taken away some of your freedom.
Well, the most recent one is they're trying to push through C9 again, right, for the third time. It's in the hands of the Senate right now, which is obviously put in because or by the Liberal government, because they're always the ones that are in power. Anytime that a Conservative government gets into power, they are a two-term government at most, mostly because they have to do what it takes to be elected in Toronto. Toronto is in control of everything that happens throughout the country, ultimately, just because they have the backing of Quebec and all of the elections.
Right. So C9 is the Combating Hates Act, right? The hate legislation, exactly. Anti-hate legislation. So how does that take away your freedom?
That's basically taking away the freedom of religion. If you read into it, it's taking away the freedom of certain passages in the Bibles, any Bible, not just the Christian Bible, but all Bibles that has anything to do with what one person might consider hate. That person can then be taken and jailed or court-martialed or whatever it takes to hold them legally accountable.
Right. Because
Bible.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah. I understand that.
And that's just one of the things lately. Yesterday, he just came out and started touting the 15-minute cities again, which is more control over the people. He's has so many things like this memorandum of understanding that he's brought forward isn't worth the piece of paper that it was put on. Nothing that he has agreed to has happened.
Your premier seems to like it. Your premier was there, signed it, smiling as she did. So
I know, and she did that because that was her only path to prove what Mr. Carney is up to. And as we've seen, today is actually the due day, the D-Day. Today is the day that
it's supposed to be.
Yeah, is supposed to be the day where everything was happening, and of course, nothing has happened. We've backed up our side of the bargain and said that we're doing all the stuff that we're supposed to be doing, but we've seen no action from him whatsoever. And again, this is just, that's the current government. This has been going on I've been on board with this since Papa Trudeau was in power, and he put together that what was it, petroleum
National Energy Program. National Energy
Program. Thank you. Ever since he put that in place, and it's just been one thing after another. You got a Conservative government in, and they try to do a little bit here and a little bit there, but it all just gets reversed as soon as the next government's in place. Our Conservative governments that are in Ottawa actually aren't even classified as true Conservative governments because they still have to get elected in by Liberal voters, correct? the people that are in Toronto generally are.
Well,
they might consider themselves
that's the nature of a national election, sir. You should try to get as many votes from as many people in as many parts of the country as you can. Should you not?
And that is exactly my point, right there. We do not have the power in Alberta to do that. Every time the election is called, by the time it hits the end of Ontario's border, we haven't even closed our polls, and Ontario has already decided. Quebec and Ontario have already decided who's going to be the next prime minister. That is not control for our province. Again, and then they decide if India gets a bunch of our tax dollars. They decide if Ukraine gets a bunch of our tax dollars. We can, as an independent country, Alberta can still fund all these other projects, but we would be in control of who gets those funds.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. I understand, sir. Thank you. You've made the case. You're a diehard and, a longtime convert to the cause. And I appreciate taking your call today. It's good to know where you stand. Thank you. 1-833-668-2577. Talkback. He wants a Republic of Alberta. What about you? This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
On Alberta Independence, Francis up next. Hello, Francis.
Hi there.
Hi, Francis. What's your opinion?
Hi. Well, I am anti-separation. I'm a true and blood Canadian and an Albertan. And my question is to these people that want to separate is, I'm a senior. So my question is, what happens to my CCP and OAS? Do they think it's going to continue when we're no longer part of Canada? And how long will it take the government of Alberta to set me up to be able to have that income?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
I don't think a lot of people,
I don't know the answer. I understand. I still understand your concern, of course. Yeah.
So the thing is, I feel that Danielle Smith is anti-Canadian, she wants to be a separate country. She keeps changing the rules. Like when they did the referendum that said, do you want to stay in Canada? It was 350,000 votes within a specific amount of time. And when they exceeded that, they changed it to say, well, you don't need that now. You only need this much, and you have a longer time to do it. Like they keep changing the rules when it's not in their favor.
Okay. So do you think she's a separatist then? She says she's not a separatist. Do you think she's a separatist?
I don't think she's. Yeah, I think it's gotten better. But originally.
I think Francis dropped out. All right, Francis, thanks for your call. I understand you want Alberta to stay in Canada. You have questions about certainly the pension plan and retirees. Thank you. Let's move along. Chris up next. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing today?
Yeah, very good, Chris. What about you? You doing okay?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah.
Good. Would you be doing better if you lived in an independent Alberta? Would you be doing better if you lived in an independent Alberta?
Not at all. I'm calling in from Calgary, so I understand this, directly and how it affects. Also, as a person who moved out of Quebec after the previous referendum, so I've got a different take maybe on this. And my position is you had asked the previous caller if Danielle Smith was a separatist, and I think she's an opportunist, is what it actually is. She's pandering to a group of people in order to get votes by telling them what they want to hear. And I think the one thing that's consistent with the callers today when they support the idea and this concept of separation is that, not to be offensive to anyone at this point in time, but to be very blunt, I don't believe they understand the bigger picture. They're looking at one little section and how it affects them. But it leads me to believe that I just think democracy is so broken at this point in time that's where our challenge is. We don't understand the jobs that politicians do as the vast majority of the voting population. And so we're asking people who are vastly unqualified to answer the question whether they want to be part of Canada or not. And we're getting no's and yeses, but they don't understand what that means on the bigger picture.
So what's the bigger picture then?
Well, it comes down to how is this going to affect the economy? How is this going to affect a global position? How is this going to play into their daily lives? They want this little bit of freedom that they think that they can garnish by having this major fracture in our country. And it just won't be. At the end of the day, they might have slight gains, but it'll be intolerable if they were ever to succeed. And I don't think that the vast majority of people that are supporting it can answer the big questions of what currency do you use? What do you do with all the stranded assets and buildings in the city of Calgary? These things are mortgaged. There's finance backing them. Who gets to own them? Because I don't think anyone's going to be happy with the destruction of the asset value if Alberta were to be successful. That Bow building, someone's going to have to pay for it. And if they're paying for it in an independent Alberta, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. So you're kind of channeling what some people, you're kind of channeling what some people have raised when we've had previous conversations about this, about what happened to Quebec after the PQ first took power in 1976, when a lot of commerce, a lot of businesses left. For example, Montreal and moved to Toronto, and Toronto exploded, and Montreal went into this period of stagnation. Right, hundreds of companies left. Royal Bank, Sun Life, Bank of Montreal, moving their headquarters, and lots of people left as well.
Exactly. Yep.
So
they left. All these oil
so
companies.
Do you think that there would be like a period of stagnation? If this happened?
Without question. Business only requires stability in order to be successful. It cannot manage through instability. So if you look at the oil companies that everyone is banking on being the golden goose for the independent Alberta, these are all national companies. They're not going to have interest in investing in independent Alberta whatsoever. So it's going to be very, very hard for them to succeed afterwards once they pull the rug out on their stability, once they pull the rug out on their investments.
You think like companies like Cenovus and Enbridge and CNQ and TC, like what, they're going to leave? You think they would leave or something?
They all leave. Yeah. I don't think that they have a path to a product to market that's easier in an independent Alberta. Trying to get their assets through to Tidewaters doesn't get easier after you've left the country.
Okay. Really interesting. Thank you, Chris, for your call. Be right back. This is News Radio.
Something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Tim up next on Independence for Alberta. Hello, Tim.
Hi, how you doing? How's your day going?
Yeah, good. Yeah, going well.
Thanks for bringing this topic forward.
My pleasure.
My thought is, one, I would never vote for independence, but I believe the democratic right. But I actually asked one, and then I'll refer it back to one of your callers who was calling about Alberta, about Quebec. I asked him, and he said, if you win, then you're going to want to proceed independence. But if you lose, what happens? Well, we'll just try again. Like, I'm sorry, but are these people attached to reality? I mean, how many times do you want to do this? Look what it's done to Quebec. Alberta is going to go down a hole that they'll never get themselves out of. So my question to any person in the independence movement is this a one and done, or you just keep doing it over and doing it over? But if you win on the first try, you don't get a do-over. It's either one and done, or if you don't think it's strong enough, then don't proceed with the referendum question. But if you're going to lose, you're going to lose hard. And I'm sorry, but you don't get a second chance in life sometimes.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, in Quebec, they've tried twice and they want to try a third time. So, maybe the third time's the charm.
Like Montreal used to be the leader in this country, and then look what's happened in the last 35 years.
Yeah. Good point. Okay. Thank you, Tim. Yeah, you're going to fit in a few more here. Tim thinks it should be one and done and then give it up once you lose. Andrew up next. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, buddy. Good time to talk to you. I haven't talked to you in a while. So I'm Canadian. I love to be Canadian. I'm Albertan. I love to be Albertan. I want the question asked, and I want to stay in Canada, but I want the question to be so close to passing that Quebec, Newfoundland, Labrador, that part of the country, stops putting their foot on our neck and we should stop immediately. And when they come back to Parliament, stop equalization. You cannot hate us but want our money. Equalization to Quebec should be stopped immediately. They hate our oil but love our money. You can't have both.
Okay, Andrew, thank you. Gotcha. Let's go to, this will be the last call, Howard in Edmonton today. Hello, Howard.
Hello. This is Howard, from Calgary.
Calgary, sorry.
No
That's
worries.
okay.
Thanks for
Calgary,
having me. I am a
Edmonton.
first-time caller.
I appreciate that, Howard. Thank you.
I actually just want to say that, my own personal view is I do not think Alberta will be independent. I think it's a crazy idea. I hear that people are frustrated with the past government, the Trudeau government, and everything that went on with that. But, I'm originally from Ontario. I've lived in Alberta for 30 years. I've been a part of the business community. And I think for anybody or, anything whatsoever to say that Alberta is going to be better off as an independent state or whatever you want to call it it's just craziness. Canada is in a position right now to be a fabulous country. We could be an energy superpower. I think the Carney government, albeit it's happening slowly, I think they are going in the right direction. And I think Danielle Smith is obviously supporting that. The proof will be in the pudding, but I do believe we're going in the right direction, and Canada is better with Alberta, and Alberta is better being a part of Canada.
Great stuff. Great call to end on. Thank you so much, Howard. Thank you for all of your calls today. Popular topic today. And to be back tomorrow. We're going to do a free-for-all tomorrow because we're not here for the Friday free-for-all. It's Good Friday after all. So we'll do a Faux Friday free-for-all tomorrow on Thursday. Join us then, please, for Talkback. Until then, latest breaking news here on News Radio.